There is a woman who walks alone silently. In her quiet journey, she is often overlooked, unseen by the eyes of the world. But she walks, not because she is alone by circumstance, but because her steps are guided by a purpose that burns brighter than the noise around her. Her silence does not signify weakness or solitude. It signifies strength and resilience. She is a woman who understands that to walk alone is not to be abandoned, but to be chosen for something greater than what the world can see. Many will never understand the weight she carries, the battle she fights in the silence of her mind. They will not see the tears she wipes away in the dark, nor the fears she confronts in the quiet of her own heart. But she walks anyway. She walks because her purpose cannot be defined by the fleeting judgments of those who only see the surface of things. She knows that her true path is not determined by the applause of others, but by the quiet whispers of her own spirit, calling her forward. This woman, she is not afraid to walk alone. She is not afraid to stand apart from the crowd, to choose a road less traveled, even when it means facing challenges that others may not understand. She is a woman who carries within her the dreams of generations, the strength of her ancestors, and the courage to break barriers. Though she walks alone, she is not truly isolated. She is surrounded by the legacy of those who have come before her, and by the love and wisdom that lives inside her. The world may tell her that she is weak, that she is less than, that she is incomplete without the company of others. But she knows better. She knows that her worth is not measured by the number of people who stand beside her, but by the conviction with which she walks forward, head held high, shoulders squared. She knows that in her silence is the strength of 1,000 voices, and in her solitude is the power to move mountains. She walks alone, yes, but she walks with purpose. She walks with vision. She walks with faith. She walks with faith. She walks with the confidence that each step she takes brings her closer to the woman she was destined to become. Her journey is not a lonely one, though it may appear so to the outside world. She is never truly alone, for she is connected to the pulse of the universe, to the deep wisdom of the ages, to the quiet power that resides in every soul that dares to believe. She does not need validation from the world. She knows her worth. She knows that her silence is not a void, but a space for growth. She understands that the greatest accomplishments are often achieved in solitude, that the most profound ideas are often birthed in moments of quiet reflection. And so she walks. She walks through the noise, through the chaos, through the doubters and the naysayers. She walks because she knows that her journey is not about the destination, but about the person she becomes along the way. This woman, she is not afraid of silence. She embraces it. She understands that in the stillness, she finds clarity. In the solitude, she finds strength. In the silence, she finds the voice of her true self. And that voice is powerful. That voice can move mountains. That voice can change the world. But it starts with the silence. It starts with the woman who walks alone, knowing that her journey, though quiet, is significant. There are many who will see her walk and assume that she is lost, that she is wandering aimlessly. But those who truly understand, those who know the power of a quiet, determined spirit, they will see the truth. She is not lost. She is walking with purpose. She is walking toward her destiny. She is walking toward greatness. The woman who walks alone does not need anyone to tell her she is worthy. She knows it deep in her bones. She does not need anyone to cheer her on. She has the strength to keep moving, even when the applause is absent. Her worth is not defined by the approval of others, but by the knowledge that she is doing exactly what she was meant to do. She is a woman who knows that the world may not always understand her, but that will never stop her from walking. She knows that some roads are meant to be walked alone, and that the quiet path is often the most powerful. She is a woman who knows that her silence is not weakness, but strength. Her solitude is not isolation, but empowerment. She knows that sometimes you must walk alone to hear the deepest calls of your own soul. And so she walks. She walks with grace, with courage, with faith. She walks not to prove anything to the world, but to prove to herself that she has what it takes to achieve her dreams, to fulfill her purpose, to stand tall and proud in her own truth. She walks, knowing that her journey, her silence, her strength will inspire others to do the same. She walks because she knows that her walk is not just for herself, but for every woman who has ever felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, and for every woman who has ever been told that she cannot walk alone. The woman who walks alone silently is a force to be reckoned with. She is a woman who understands the power of her own journey. She is a woman who will never stop walking, never stop believing, never stop moving forward, because in her silence she has found her strength. And in that strength, she will change the world. She knows the value of standing alone because she has learned that silence is not a weakness but a profound source of clarity. When the noise of the world is silenced, it is in that moment that she can hear her own thoughts, her own voice, her own heart. And it is in that stillness that she finds the courage to face the questions that others shy away from. She confronts the questions no one else dares to ask, because she understands that it is in answering them that she finds her true self. The world may tell her that she is not enough, that she needs the approval of others to be validated. But she knows better. She knows that her value is not measured by the opinions of the crowd, by the fleeting trends, or by the applause that comes and goes. She knows that true value is found in the depth of her character, in the choices she makes when no one is watching, in the sacrifices she is willing to make for the sake of her dreams. She does not need the world to give her permission to be powerful. She knows that power resides within her already. She does not need anyone to validate her voice because her voice is clear and it carries the weight of her truth. Her truth may not always be comfortable for others to hear, but she speaks it anyway. She speaks her truth not to provoke, but to liberate. She speaks her truth because it is the only way for her to remain true to herself. And yet, her silence does not mean that she has nothing to say. It means that she is intentional with her words. In a world that often values noise over substance, she knows that sometimes the most powerful things are said in the quiet moments, in the spaces between words. She has learned to wait, to observe, and to listen. In listening, she hears the world more clearly, and in hearing, she is able to speak with greater wisdom. There is wisdom in walking alone. It is not the kind of wisdom that comes from the opinions of others, but from the lessons learned through solitude. It is in the quiet moments when she is left alone with her thoughts that she understands the depths of her potential. She learns that walking alone is not an indication of weakness, but an opportunity for growth. In her solitude, she becomes stronger, more resilient, more self-aware. She learns to trust herself, to trust her instincts, and to trust the path that is uniquely hers. She may feel the sting of loneliness at times, but she understands that loneliness does not equate to being lost. She understands that loneliness is simply a byproduct of the path she has chosen, a path that not many are brave enough to walk. And so she carries the weight of her loneliness with grace, knowing that it is part of the process, part of the journey that will ultimately lead her to her destiny. The woman who walks alone silently knows that the greatest battles are not fought in the external world, but within. She knows that it is in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when no one is applauding, that her greatest victories are won. She knows that it is in the stillness of the night, when the world sleeps and she remains awake, that she confronts her deepest fears, her insecurities, her doubts, and she faces them head on with the determination that comes from knowing that she was meant for more. She does not shy away from discomfort. She knows that it is through discomfort that growth occurs. Every challenge, every setback, every failure is simply a stepping stone on the path to greatness. She is not afraid to fall, because she knows that in every fall there is an opportunity to rise again stronger than before. She understands that failure is not a reflection of who she is, but of where she has been. And where she has been does not define where she is going. The woman who walks alone silently also knows the importance of nurturing her inner strength. She understands that the power to endure, to persevere, and to triumph does not come from external sources, but from within. It comes from the wellspring of her spirit, the unshakable faith she has in herself, and the unwavering belief that she is capable of achieving everything she sets her mind to. She knows that no matter what obstacles stand in her way, no matter how many people doubt her or tell her that she cannot succeed, she will continue to move forward, step by step, with faith in her own power. Her journey is not about seeking approval. It is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about fulfilling the purpose that burns within her, the purpose that she was born with. It is about becoming the woman she was always meant to be, the woman who was destined to break free from the limitations that society often imposes on her. She refuses to conform to anyone's expectations of who she should be. She refuses to let the world define her worth. She knows that she defines her own worth, and she will not let anyone diminish that. In her silence, she is more than capable of achieving greatness. In her solitude, she finds the space to grow into the woman she was always meant to become. And as she continues to walk alone silently, she begins to realize something profound, that her journey is not just about her. It is about the impact she will have on the world, the legacy she will leave behind, the generations of women who will look to her and say, she did it. If she can walk alone, so can I. And that is the true power of the woman who walks alone silently. It is not just in her ability to overcome obstacles, to face fears, or to pursue her dreams. It is in the way she inspires others to do the same. She becomes a beacon of hope for those who feel they are too weak, too broken, or too afraid to take the first step. She becomes the living proof that it is possible to walk through the storm, to walk through the silence, and to emerge stronger. Her walk is not a lonely one, because in every step she carries the hopes and dreams of all the women who have come before her and all the men who will come after. She walks for those who cannot yet find their own voice, for those who are still searching for their purpose, and for those who need the courage to take the first step toward their own destiny. The woman who walks alone silently is not just walking for herself. She is walking for all of us. She is walking to remind us that we too have the power to walk our own paths, to embrace our own journeys, and to find the strength within us to overcome whatever challenges come our way. She is walking to show us that silence is not weakness, but strength. That solitude is not isolation, but empowerment. That walking alone is not a sign of abandonment, but of the courage to pursue our own destiny with conviction. So as we watch her walk, let us not pity her for her solitude. Let us not think that she is lost or alone. Let us instead stand in awe of the strength she embodies, the courage she exudes, and the power she carries within her. For the woman who walks alone silently is not simply walking for herself, she is walking to change the world. She is walking to show us all that we are capable of walking our own paths with the same strength, grace, and courage. In the silence of her journey, the woman who walks alone finds herself. She finds the core of who she is, untouched by the world's judgments, unshaken by the passing trends, unspoiled by the expectations that others may place upon her. She is a woman who understands that real transformation happens not in the presence of others, but in the quiet spaces between the noise, where she can hear her own voice speaking to her soul. In those quiet moments, she is able to ask herself the questions that lead to the deepest growth. Who am I? What do I stand for? What do I believe? In a world that demands constant noise and distraction, to be alone with oneself can be a radical act. But she embraces it because she understands that it is in the solitude that she finds her true strength. It is when she stands alone that she discovers the vastness of her inner world, the strength of her mind, and the power of her heart. She learns to trust herself, to trust her intuition, and to recognize that the power to shape her life resides within her, always has and always will. Her journey is not without its struggles. She faces moments of doubt, moments where the weight of the world seems too much to bear. She too feels the sting of failure, the disappointment of things not turning out as planned, the fear that perhaps the road she has chosen is too hard, too lonely. But she does not allow those moments to define her. She faces them, acknowledges them, and then continues walking, because she knows that each step, even the painful ones, is taking her closer to who she is meant to become. She understands that success does not come overnight. It is not handed to her on a silver platter. No, success is earned. It is the result of consistent effort, of pushing through the times when giving up seems like the easier option, of staying true to her vision, even when the world tells her to turn back. She knows that the only failure is in not trying, in not continuing, in not believing that it is possible to reach the other side of the mountain, no matter how high or how difficult it may seem. And so she presses on. With each step, she becomes more resilient. With each challenge, she grows stronger. With each silence, she learns to hear herself more clearly. She knows that growth happens in the uncomfortable spaces, in the places where the old self must die in order for the new self to be born. She understands that this transformation is not easy, but it is necessary. To be the woman she was meant to be, she must let go of all the old narratives that no longer serve her. She must step out of the shadows of doubt and fear and embrace the woman who knows her worth, her power, and her potential. The woman who walks alone silently is not just finding herself, though. She is also paving the way for others. She is creating a path for those who will come after her. She is proving that it is possible to walk with courage, to pursue dreams with conviction, and to rise above the limitations placed upon us by society, by culture, and by history. She is not just walking for her own fulfillment, she is walking to show the world that women can be leaders, can be strong, can be unapologetically powerful in their own right. And in walking alone, she does not leave others behind. No, she is building something much greater than herself. She is creating a ripple effect that touches lives in ways she may never even see. When other women look at her, they see possibility. When other women see her walking with strength, with determination, with quiet confidence, they are inspired to take their own steps. They are inspired to believe that if she can walk alone, so can they. They are inspired to know that they too have the power to create their own path, to walk to the beat of their own drum, to be true to their own voice. This is the power of the woman who walks alone silently. She is not a solitary figure in the traditional sense. She is not walking in isolation or in separation from the world. She is walking for the world. She is walking to show every woman, every child, every person who ever doubted themselves that they too can walk their own path with courage, with strength, and with grace. There is a profound strength in walking alone. It is the strength to stand firm in your beliefs, even when those around you don't understand. It is the strength to keep moving forward, even when the road is unclear and the future uncertain. It is the strength to keep dreaming, to keep believing, and to keep striving, no matter how many times you fall. The woman who walks alone silently is a testament to the power of perseverance, to the power of faith, and to the power of self-belief. She does not need anyone to validate her worth because she already knows that she is enough. She does not need anyone's approval to step into her power because she has already embraced it. She does not need anyone to tell her that her dreams are possible because she already believes in them with every fiber of her being. She has learned the most important lesson that anyone can learn, that true validation comes from within. And when you believe in yourself, there is nothing that can stop you. The woman who walks alone silently knows that the world will try to tell her that she is too much, too loud, too bold, too independent. She knows that the world will try to diminish her, to make her feel as though she is an outsider, as though she does not belong. But she also knows that the world needs her. The world needs her voice. The world needs her strength. The world needs her courage. And she walks not to prove the world wrong, but to prove to herself that she has everything she needs to succeed. To prove that she is capable of greatness, not because of anyone else's approval, but because of her own. And as she walks, she is not walking just for herself, but for all the women who are still struggling to find their voice. For all the women who are still waiting for someone to tell them that they are worthy of greatness. For all the women who have been told that their dreams are impossible, that their voices are too quiet, that they are not enough. She is walking for them. She is walking to show them that they too can find their strength, find their voice, and find their purpose. As she walks, her footsteps echo in the hearts of others. Her courage becomes their courage. Her strength becomes their strength. Her silence becomes their moment of reflection, their moment of growth. In her quiet walk, she creates a movement that can change the world. And though she walks alone, she knows that she is never truly alone. She is walking for something greater than herself, and in doing so, she is building a legacy that will last for generations. As she continues on her journey, the woman who walks alone silently becomes aware of a profound truth. Her silence is not emptiness, it is the space where her soul finds the clarity to see the world differently. It is in this stillness that she can listen, not just to her own thoughts, but to the voice of the universe, whispering the wisdom that has been waiting for her to hear. She knows that true growth is not just a product of action, but of reflection, of pausing long enough to hear the truths that reside deep within her own spirit. And so in her solitude, she hears the call to be more than she ever imagined. She hears the call to become the woman who lives her truth, who steps boldly into her destiny, and who rises, despite all odds, to meet the fullness of who she was created to be. In walking alone, she becomes attuned to the power of stillness, to the power of silence, to the power of simply being present in the moment. The world moves quickly, constantly pulling her attention in 1,000 directions, asking her to be everything to everyone. But in the silence, she learns that she is enough. She does not have to prove anything to the world. She does not have to fit into anyone's mold. She does not have to chase the approval or recognition of others, because her true power lies in her authenticity. She learns that the most powerful thing she can do is to simply be herself, without apology, without fear, without the need to conform. It is in her quiet walk that she transforms into the embodiment of grace, strength, and courage. Her walk, though alone, becomes an act of defiance, a defiance against the limitations society often places on women, against the voices that say she cannot, against the structures that seek to diminish her light. She chooses to walk, not just for herself, but for every woman who has ever been told she was too much, too little, or too anything other than who she truly is. With every step she takes, she shatters the walls of limitation. With every step, she paves a new path, showing others that it is not only okay to walk alone, but that it is in the moments of solitude that we find our deepest power. Her walk is one of quiet rebellion against the narratives that confine, the standards that limit, and the expectations that stifle the full expression of her potential. She does not need anyone's permission to walk her own path. And she does not need the approval of the masses to be validated. She walks with the full knowledge that her worth is inherent, not subject to the whims of others. Her walk is not just a journey of self-discovery, it is a declaration that she is here, she is whole, and she is capable, she has found her voice, and though it may sometimes be soft, it is powerful. It carries the truth of her soul, the essence of her being. As the woman who walks alone silently becomes more attuned to her own strength, she also begins to recognize the interconnectedness of all lives. In her journey, she discovers that even though she walks alone, she is not isolated. She is part of a larger whole, a part of a global community of women who have walked similar paths before her and who will continue to walk beside her in spirit, even if not always physically present. She is connected to the legacy of women who fought, struggled, and overcame obstacles to carve out spaces for themselves in a world that often overlooked them. She walks with the wisdom of these women whose lives and struggles are interwoven into the very fabric of her own. And she knows that her walk will not only impact her own life, but the lives of those who come after her. She is a link in a chain of transformation, and her actions will ripple through time, reaching women who are yet to find their voice, yet to discover their power. The courage she shows in walking alone, in choosing her own path, will become a beacon for others to follow. It will empower them to believe that they too can walk with conviction, that they too can find their way in a world that often tells them they do not belong. Her walk is not a solitary act of defiance for the sake of rebellion, but a way of living that declares, I am here, I matter, I have purpose. And through this walk, she teaches those around her, whether they realize it or not, that the same is true for them. She becomes the living embodiment of the idea that each woman has the right to carve out her own path, to chase her own dreams, to walk alone when necessary, and to stand unapologetically in the fullness of her being. In fact, it is through her walk that the world begins to see that strength comes in many forms. It is not always loud, not always brash, not always in the form of taking the world by storm. Sometimes strength is found in quiet determination, in the ability to face the struggles of life with resilience, and in the capacity to hold fast to your vision, even when no one else can see it. Sometimes strength is not about shouting your worth from the rooftops. It is about walking with the unwavering belief that you are worthy, even when no one else is looking. And in this strength, she finds her voice. Her voice may not always be the loudest, but it is undeniably powerful. She speaks with the authority that comes from knowing who she is, what she believes, and where she is going. When she speaks, people listen, not because she is demanding attention, but because her words are grounded in truth. Her actions are aligned with her values, and her presence is a reminder that anything is possible when you believe in your own power. The woman who walks alone silently is a teacher, whether she intends to be or not. Her life is a lesson in perseverance, in resilience, in self-belief. Her journey teaches others that it is not the external circumstances that define us, but the strength we find within ourselves to face them. She teaches that it is okay to walk alone, to be different, to be quiet, and still to be unapologetically who you are. She teaches that your worth is not dependent on the approval of others, and that your purpose cannot be measured by how many people follow you or agree with you. Your purpose is yours alone to fulfill. Through her walk, she is creating a legacy that will live on in the women who come after her, who will look at her and say, if she can do it, so can I. She will never know the full extent of her impact, because true impact is often quiet, unseen, and felt in the hearts of those who are touched by it. But she knows deep within herself that the work she is doing, the steps she is taking, the silent courage she embodies is changing the world. The woman who walks alone silently is a force of nature. She may not always be visible to the world, but her impact is undeniable. She is shaping the future, one quiet step at a time, one courageous act after another. She is rewriting the narrative of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be powerful, what it means to walk your own path with integrity and grace. And in doing so, she creates space for others to do the same. So when you see her walking alone, remember that she is not lost. She is not weak. She is not incomplete. She is whole, she is powerful, and she is walking toward her purpose. And every step she takes, every quiet moment of her journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of self-belief. As the woman who walks alone silently presses on, she begins to realize that her journey is not just about self-discovery or personal growth. It is about embracing a role that goes beyond her own life. It is about becoming a light in a world that often feels overwhelmed by darkness. It is about recognizing that her walk, though quiet, is creating a ripple effect that will echo far beyond the steps she takes. With each movement, with each decision, she is laying down a legacy that teaches others that they too have the power to walk their own path, to make their own choices, and to step into the fullness of their potential. And so as she walks, she begins to feel the weight of this responsibility, not in a burdensome way, but with a sense of grace and honor. She understands that she is not simply walking for herself anymore. She is walking for every person who has ever doubted their worth. She is walking for those who have felt silenced by the world. She is walking for those whose voices have been suppressed, whose dreams have been crushed under the weight of societal expectations. She is walking for the generations of women who came before her, who fought for the rights and freedoms that she now enjoys. She is walking for the generations that will come after her, who will carry the lessons she leaves behind. But even as she carries this weight, she does not feel burdened. In fact, she feels more alive than ever. She feels the fullness of her purpose, and with each step, she is more certain that her journey is leading her to something much larger than herself. She understands that her walk, though solitary, is part of a greater story, a story that transcends time, place, and individual circumstance. Her walk is part of the collective movement of women who are rewriting the narrative of what it means to be a woman in this world, to claim your space, to live authentically, and to rise above the noise of external opinions. Her transformation is not just personal, it is communal. She knows that in her silence, she is teaching those around her the power of stillness, the power of patience, and the power of inner strength. Her quiet presence is a reminder to others that they do not need to shout to be heard. They do not need to demand attention to be seen. The world needs their quiet strength, their calm resolve, their ability to hold space for others in a world that is often chaotic. She teaches that sometimes the most profound impact is made not by speaking, but by simply being, by showing up in your truth, and by letting your actions speak louder than words ever could. Her influence spreads beyond her immediate circle. Though she may walk alone, her example inspires others to walk their own paths with courage and conviction. When others see her, they see a reflection of their own potential. They see a woman who has faced adversity and risen above it. They see a woman who has walked through storms and emerged stronger, not because of what she gained, but because of what she learned in the process. And in seeing her strength, they are reminded of their own. In this way, her journey becomes a beacon of hope for those who are struggling. It becomes a lifeline for those who have lost their way. It becomes a message to anyone who feels like they are too small, too weak, or too insignificant to make a difference. You matter. Your walk matters. Your voice matters. Your life has purpose. This is the quiet power that the woman who walks alone silently carries. It is not the power of control or dominance, but the power of influence, the power of example, the power of resilience. It is the power that comes from being so deeply rooted in your truth that no external force can sway you. It is the power of inner peace, of knowing who you are and what you stand for, and of being unshaken by the turbulence of the world around you. This power is magnetic. It draws others in, not because it seeks attention, but because it speaks to something deep within them. It reminds them of their own strength, their own worth, and their own potential. But even as she walks with strength and purpose, she remains humble. She does not seek praise or recognition for her journey. She knows that the true reward of walking alone silently is not in external validation, but in the peace and fulfillment that comes from knowing you are walking your truth. She is content with the knowledge that her path is her own, that she is living authentically, and that she is contributing to the greater good in ways she may never fully understand. She is not concerned with the accolades, the applause, or the recognition of others. What matters to her is that she is true to herself, and that she is living in alignment with the deepest values of her soul. Her humility is one of the key elements of her power. She does not walk in arrogance or pride, but in grace and quiet confidence. She knows that true strength is not in boasting about one's accomplishments, but in showing up day after day, consistently walking the path that is meant for her. She knows that her journey is not about impressing others, but about being true to herself and honoring the life she has been given. And this is the power of the woman who walks alone silently. It is the power of self-discovery, of self-empowerment, of self-love. It is the power of knowing that you are enough just as you are, and that you do not need anyone's approval or validation to live a life of purpose and meaning. It is the power of knowing that you are capable of achieving anything you set your mind to, and that your potential is limitless. The woman who walks alone silently teaches the world that strength is not always loud. Strength can be quiet, it can be subtle, it can be found in the moments of stillness and introspection. Strength can be found in the courage to stand alone, to make your own decisions and to chart your own course, even when the world tells you that you are wrong. Strength is in the ability to keep moving forward, even when the path ahead is unclear. Strength is in the belief that your dreams are worth pursuing, that your voice is worth hearing, and that your life is worth living authentically. Her walk, though solitary, is a collective walk. It is a walk for every woman who has ever struggled to find her voice, who has ever been told that she is too much or not enough, who has ever doubted her ability to create change. The woman who walks alone silently is showing us all that we are capable of more than we think. She is showing us that we can walk with courage, with grace, and with conviction, even when the world feels like it is working against us. She is showing us that our journey may be difficult, but it is worth it. She is showing us that walking alone is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the strength that lies within us all. So when you see her walking, remember this: she is not alone. She is walking with the collective power of every woman who has ever walked before her, and every woman who will walk after her. She is walking for the future, for the present, and for the past. She is walking with purpose, with strength, and with the unwavering belief that she is enough. And as she walks, she continues to inspire, to uplift, and to create a legacy that will last for generations to come. She begins to realize that the true purpose of her walk is not just to reach a destination, but to be transformed in the process. The journey itself, the solitary path she treads, is where the deepest healing occurs. It is in the quiet moments when she is alone with her thoughts and her feelings that she begins to face the parts of herself she may have avoided or overlooked for so long. She confronts her fears, her doubts, and her insecurities, not with judgment, but with compassion. She learns to embrace the fullness of who she is, flaws, imperfections, and all. And in this acceptance, she begins to heal. She begins to reclaim the parts of herself that were once hidden, neglected, or forgotten. This healing is not immediate. It is not a sudden transformation that happens overnight. It is gradual, like the slow unfolding of a flower. There are moments of struggle, of deep introspection, when the weight of her past feels heavy. But as she continues walking, she begins to see the beauty in her journey, even in the pain. She understands that the pain she carries is not a punishment, but a part of her story, a story that has shaped her into the woman she is today. She no longer sees her past as something to be ashamed of, but as the foundation upon which her strength is built. She understands that every wound, every challenge, every moment of difficulty has served to refine her, to teach her, and to prepare her for the next step in her journey. This healing process is deeply spiritual. As she walks alone, she begins to tap into a deeper connection with herself and with the divine. In the quiet solitude, she finds a space to listen not just to the thoughts in her mind, but to the whispers of her soul. She begins to realize that she is never truly alone. She is connected to a higher power, to something greater than herself, that is guiding her every step of the way. This spiritual awakening gives her the strength to continue walking, even when the path is unclear or the road is difficult. She learns to trust not only in herself, but in the process of life itself. She understands that the universe is conspiring in her favor, that every experience, whether good or bad, is part of her growth, her evolution, and her ultimate purpose. In the quiet moments of reflection, she comes to understand that walking alone does not mean being isolated. It means being fully present with herself, with the divine, and with the world around her. It is through this presence that she begins to connect more deeply with others, even if they are not physically walking beside her. Her journey, though solitary, becomes a bridge to the souls of those around her. She finds that when she walks in her truth, with authenticity and integrity, she creates a space for others to do the same. Without speaking a word, she invites others to walk in their own power, to embrace their own journey, and to trust in the process of their own healing. This is where the true power of her walk lies, not just in her personal transformation, but in the way her journey becomes a beacon of light for others. She teaches others that they too can walk their own paths, no matter how difficult or uncertain the road may seem. She shows them that walking alone is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It is the strength to face your fears, to confront your inner demons, and to emerge on the other side more whole and more authentic than ever before. She shows them that there is power in silence, in stillness, and in the courage to simply be. The woman who walks alone silently teaches that true spiritual growth comes not from the noise of the world, but from the quiet moments of self-reflection and introspection. In those moments of solitude, we connect with the deepest parts of ourselves, the parts that are often drowned out by the demands of everyday life. She shows that it is in the silence that we hear the wisdom of our hearts, that we connect with the divine presence within us, and that we gain the clarity needed to move forward on our path. As she walks, she begins to embody the qualities of grace, patience, and wisdom. She walks with the understanding that every step she takes is part of her sacred journey, and that every moment, whether joyful or painful, is an opportunity for growth. She does not rush through life, but instead savors each step, each breath, each experience. She knows that true fulfillment comes not from rushing to the finish line, but from embracing the present moment and trusting that everything will unfold in its own time. In her walk, she discovers that peace does not come from external circumstances, but from within. It is a peace that is rooted in self-acceptance, in trust, and in the belief that she is exactly where she is. She is exactly where she is meant to be. She no longer feels the need to prove anything to anyone, because she knows that her worth is not dependent on the approval of others. Her worth is inherent, and it comes from the deep knowing that she is a beloved child of the universe, deserving of love, of peace, and of joy. As she continues her journey, the woman who walks alone silently begins to see the world through a new lens. She no longer sees challenges as obstacles, but as opportunities for growth. She no longer fears the unknown, but embraces it as a chance to expand her consciousness and deepen her understanding of herself and the world around her. She knows that every experience is an opportunity for learning, for transformation, and for spiritual awakening. And in this awakening, she begins to radiate a sense of peace and calm that others are drawn to. She becomes a magnet for those who are seeking guidance, seeking clarity, seeking the same peace she has found within herself. But she does not force her wisdom upon others. She simply walks in her truth. And those who are ready to receive it will be drawn to her. Her presence alone is enough to inspire others to take their own steps toward healing, towards self-discovery, and towards spiritual growth. Her walk, though silent, becomes a powerful form of communication. It is a communication of self-love, self-respect, and inner strength. It is a communication of peace, of grace, and of divine wisdom. It is a reminder to all who see her that they too have the power to walk their own paths, to claim their own strength, and to embrace the beauty and power of their own silence. Through her walk, the woman who walks alone silently teaches the world that we do not need to shout to be heard. We do not need to seek validation to know our worth. And we do not need to be afraid of the unknown. She shows us that the greatest power lies within us, waiting to be discovered in the quiet spaces of our lives. She teaches us that peace is found not in the external world, but in the peace we cultivate within ourselves. And as she walks step by step, she creates a ripple of change, a ripple that spreads out into the world, inspiring others to walk with their own quiet strength, to live in alignment with their truth, and to embrace the divine power that resides within them. The woman who walks alone silently carries a unique power, one that comes not from force or control, but from a quiet assurance in her own worth. Her walk is a testament to the strength that comes from within, a reminder that real transformation happens not in loud proclamations, but in the subtlety of inner work. As she walks her own path, she teaches others that the most profound impact is often the one that is felt, not heard. She becomes a silent force for change, inspiring those who encounter her to rethink their own journeys, to reconsider how they are living, and to find the courage to walk with authenticity and conviction. The way she carries herself in the world offers a new definition of strength. She is not loud, not boisterous, not demanding attention. She does not seek recognition or approval. Instead, her strength lies in her ability to remain grounded in her truth, to navigate the challenges of life with grace, and to face every obstacle with resilience. She does not allow the noise of the world to drown out her inner voice. She knows who she is, and she walks in that certainty. This inner peace radiates outward, and those who encounter her feel its presence. She is not someone who tries to convince others of her worth. She simply is, and that is enough. Her example teaches others that strength does not come from what we can do for others or what we can prove to the world. True strength comes from within. It comes from learning to be still, to trust, and to honor the process of life. It comes from the deep conviction that no matter what the world may say or how others may perceive us, we are enough. This lesson is one that cannot be taught through words alone. It is one that can only be learned through experiencing her quiet power firsthand. When others see her walking in her truth, they begin to understand that they too have the capacity to walk their own path with the same quiet assurance. The woman who walks alone silently is often seen by others as a figure of mystery and grace. She may not speak much, but her presence is undeniable. It is as though the energy she carries is so powerful that words are unnecessary. Those around her are drawn to her, not because she seeks their attention, but because her presence offers something that words cannot, an invitation to be real, to be authentic, to be true to oneself. Her walk becomes an invitation for others to reflect on their own lives, to ask themselves whether they too are walking in their truth or whether they are merely following the crowd. For those who are open to it, the woman who walks alone silently becomes a guide. She doesn't set out to lead anyone, but her example naturally inspires others to follow their own paths. She shows them that walking alone does not mean being isolated. It means embracing the solitude that allows for self-discovery, growth, and personal transformation. She teaches that there is no shame in walking a solitary path. In fact, it is often in our solitude that we discover our deepest truths. When we are not distracted by the noise and opinions of others, we are able to hear the quiet voice of our own intuition. It is in this silence that we are able to hear the guidance of the divine, the whispers of our soul, and the truth of who we are meant to be. Her influence extends beyond just individuals. She begins to create a ripple effect that touches the wider community. People who have encountered her journey begin to reflect on their own lives, and they are inspired to take bold steps toward self-discovery, toward living authentically, and toward embracing their own potential. The woman who walks alone silently may never fully understand the extent of her influence, but she can be sure that her quiet strength is having an impact far beyond her own experience. Her influence is felt not just through her words or actions, but through her very being. She shows others that they do not need to be loud to be heard. She teaches that silence can be just as powerful as speech, that stillness can be just as impactful as movement, and that peace can be just as transformative as action. She is the living embodiment of the truth that we all have the capacity to create change, not through force, but through presence. When we are grounded in our truth and aligned with our purpose, the world around us begins to shift. The woman who walks alone silently understands this deep truth, and as she walks, she creates a space for others to do the same. As others witness her journey, they begin to realize that they too have the ability to walk their own path. They see that the challenges they face, the struggles they endure, and the obstacles they encounter are not meant to break them, but to build them. Just as the woman who walks alone silently has transformed herself through her journey, they too can transform. They too can walk with purpose, with authenticity, and with the quiet strength that comes from being true to themselves. Her walk becomes a mirror for their own potential, and as they see her rise, they are reminded that they too can rise. The woman who walks alone silently, though solitary in her physical journey, is never truly alone. She carries the energy and spirit of those who walk before her, and she is connected to the collective energy of all who seek truth, peace, and authenticity. Her walk is not just her own. It is a collective walk that reaches across time, space, and generations. She is a part of something much larger than herself, a movement that transcends the individual and touches the hearts and minds of all who are ready to receive it. Her journey is a reminder that we all have the capacity to walk with grace, to walk with purpose, and to walk with power. We do not need to wait for others to give us permission to walk our own path. We do not need to seek validation or approval. Our worth is inherent. And when we walk in our truth, we are walking in alignment with our highest selves. The woman who walks alone silently teaches us that we are enough just as we are, and that our journey, though difficult at times, is always worth it. As we come to the close of this exploration of the woman who walks alone silently, we are reminded that her journey is not just a solitary one, but one that is deeply intertwined with a message of profound spiritual significance. In her quiet strength, resilience, and unwavering pursuit of truth, she mirrors the essence of a message that has transcended generations, a message that speaks not just to women, but to all of humanity, a message delivered by one whose walk was both solitary and filled with purpose, Jesus Christ. In the silence of her walk, we see the embodiment of Christ's own journey on earth, walking alone, often misunderstood, yet always moving toward the fulfillment of a higher calling. Jesus, too, walked in silence at times, not out of weakness, but out of strength and deep connection to his divine purpose. He withdrew into solitude, not to escape the world, but to reconnect with the Father, to find strength in stillness, and to prepare for the work that lay ahead. His walk, though at times lonely, was never without divine presence. It was in his silence that he drew closer to the heart of God, just as it is in the woman's silence that she draws closer her truest self and to the divine within her. Jesus' message to us was one of quiet empowerment, of strength found not in external recognition or the validation of others, but in the stillness of the soul, in the intimate connection with the divine that guides us along our path. He said, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest, Matthew 11:28. This is the promise that resonates through the journey of the woman who walks alone, silently finding peace in the solitude, strength in the quiet, and rest in the arms of divine love. Jesus, too, walked a path that was often misunderstood, often rejected, but he never wavered in his trust that his walk, though seemingly solitary, was part of something much greater, just as the woman's walk is part of a larger, sacred purpose. Jesus taught that the greatest among us would not be the loudest nor the ones seeking glory or recognition, but those who serve, who live humbly, who walk in truth, and who are grounded in love. Whoever wants to be great among you must be your servant, Matthew 20:26. The woman who walks alone silently embodies this teaching. Her greatness is not measured by worldly standards, but by her commitment to live with authenticity, integrity, and grace. She walks not to be served, but to serve by inspiring others, by offering them a quiet example of what it means to live with purpose, to walk in their truth, and to trust in the divine guidance that leads them. As we reflect on her journey, we realize that her walk is not a walk of loneliness, but of divine companionship. Just as Jesus was never truly alone, even in his moments of solitude, the woman who walks silently is never without the presence of God, whose spirit moves within her, guiding her steps, comforting her in moments of doubt, and strengthening her when the road ahead seems uncertain. It is in her silence that she can hear the still small voice of God, calling her forward, empowering her to continue her journey, and reminding her that she is never, ever truly alone. In closing, let us take to heart the lessons from the woman who walks alone silently and the message of Jesus that echoes through her journey, that strength is found in humility, peace is found in stillness, and purpose is found in a quiet surrender to God's will. The world may not always understand the quiet ones, the ones who walk alone in silence, but God sees, God knows, and in his eyes, their walk is filled with purpose, filled with love, and filled with the divine light that will forever shine through their steps. May we all find the courage to walk our own paths with the same quiet strength, knowing that we too are part of a much greater journey, one that is led by love, faith, and divine purpose. And as we walk, let us remember the words of Jesus. I am with you always, Matthew 28:20. For in the silence of our walk, we are never truly alone.